All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Masters in Business Education virtual information session. My name is Tom Kresh. I will be our host tonight. I am the Director of Graduate Admissions here at Commonwealth U, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. There's a lot of other things you could be doing right now. You're choosing to spend that time with us to preview your experience in the business education program. This would be a great opportunity for you to learn more about what our program has to offer. There's a lot of other programs out there. We are confident ours is the best. And that's basically why we are having the event tonight, so we can help you learn a little more about this. Before we go any further, just some housekeeping information. The event should take around 30 or 40 minutes. We have a great presentation that Dr. Force will be walking us through, and then there will be an open Q&A afterwards. The event is being recorded, so whether you're watching us live or you're watching the recording, again, thank you for joining us. But before we go any further, again, just wanted to introduce the rest of our panel. Dr. Force, would you mind introducing yourself?
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Christina Force, and I am the co-coordinator of the Masters of Business Education program here at Commonwealth University. And my co-coordinator, Dr. Jeremy Jeffrey, could not attend this evening, so I will be discussing the program. And I'm also an alum of Bloomsburg University, both my undergrad, which I got in management here, and my master's of business education. So I'm going to toss it over to Joshua. He is a current graduate student and an undergrad. Josh?
Hi, I'm Josh Bernaco. I am a graduate student here in the M.Ed only program for business education. I did my undergrad in business education as well, and I thought I'd get my master's in it as well.
And Josh is also a grad assistant in the admissions office. So Josh has been a great professional. I'm sure he will be an outstanding teacher and or coach. Appreciate it, Josh. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Ringo. I am currently getting my M.Ed in business education. I'm on the student teaching track. I did just graduate my undergrad from Bloomsburg in international business, and I'm also Dr. Force's GA.
And we'll talk a little bit more about what a GA or a grad assistantship is later. I started tossing around that language, and it probably needs a little more context and some additional information. So we will talk about graduate assistantships later on in the presentation. But Dr. Force, go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things that I'd like to talk about is, why you'd want to get a master's in education, particularly business education. And I do see, since we have some people from out of state as well, so I'm going to touch on that a little bit. So the Master's of Business Education can do a couple things for you. If you are a current teacher and you want to enhance your learning, and you maybe want to move up the career ladder where you're teaching, if you want to maybe get a master's degree or additional credits to increase your pay, move up a step, that is also an opportunity. If you are somebody like Sarah, who has a degree in business but decided she wanted to teach, it will give you a pathway. We have two pathways to get a teaching certificate. So we do offer a Pennsylvania K through 12 business computer information technology teaching degree. And then Josh took our other track, which is our Master's of Education only. So if you were not looking to get certified in Pennsylvania, but you wanted to get your Master's in Business Education, that would be an opportunity for you as well. And we also have graduates in our program that go on to teach at not only K through 12 schools, but they go on to business schools or possibly community colleges or university. So a couple things about our program. So if you're with us tonight, you might know that there's a teacher shortage in general. There's in particularly a teacher shortage in business education. So we are, placing our students very quickly after graduation, or as you might have the opportunity, like Sarah might have the opportunity to actually skip student teaching and go through our intern track. And so our intern track is where schools have a demand. They weren't able to fill a business education position, and they have a student in our graduate program get hired and they get paid just as any other teacher would do. They go through our coursework and they do 2 semesters of an internship. So our program is currently housed in the Ziegler College of Business. We are CAPE accredited. Our coursework offered is all online. So when I say online, and I think maybe Zach or Andrew is with us tonight, they got a little bit confused because they saw a meeting on a Monday from 6 to 9. And you may have actual meetings, but they are via Zoom. So no need to worry about coming to campus. Josh had our Monday night, 6 to 9, first class in the program, Business Ed 501, and it was great. So Josh, talk a little bit about getting to know your peers by taking that course when it's a synchronous meeting.
So one of the first things you learn in that Biz Ed 501 class is like you pretty much learn everyone who's in the program. And you kind of learn that everyone is from all different parts of the state or wherever they may be at. There's people like me that are here in Bloomsburg, but there's people in Eastern PA, Western PA. I know one of the students was out near Slippery Rock, PA. It kind of like struck me that like, wow, like people are coming here from all over just for this program. But you do some more of the introductory course level where if you're not familiar with teaching or things like that, to kind of get you adapted to that. If you come from the business world, or if you're coming from the undergrad program, really get you adept to what teaching can be like for the business ed world.
Yeah, and it always amazes me that people can be online and they can forge such great relationships and friendships. I mean, we have a student who graduated and he started a podcast, and he's, an hour and a half away, and he had someone who lives in Bloomsburg, one of our teachers, be a guest on his podcast. So it's really nice to be able to kind of connect. So that's what's good about our program is you can start anytime. You can start in the fall, spring, or summer. However, if you do start in the fall, I teach the first course, which is the Biz Ed 501 course, basically teaching you how to teach business education. But again, we have a variety of different semesters, and you really actually could also start in the winter because we do have classes. In order to get you through the program relatively quickly, you can take classes fall, winter, spring, and summer. And really, if you are have an undergraduate degree in business, this will allow you to teach and get your certificate. So we basically aren't teaching you business because you're coming to us with an undergraduate degree in that. We're teaching you how to teach business. So the program, the business education program, is actually the oldest program in the Ziegler College of Business. It was the first program here. We were known as a teacher's college. And so we have a strong reputation across the state. There aren't actually really many schools that still offer business education. So it's nice that we put our program online because it allows us to produce teachers for a multitude of states. And we have a really strong alumni base. We have a footprint in Pennsylvania Business Education Association. School districts normally kind of come to us to hire their students first. I just mentioned a job opportunity to Sarah. If you're looking to do the intern path, what we do is we let our students who want to go in that direction, who are originally in student teaching, if a job comes up, we say, hey, here's an opportunity. My own son is in the program. In the fall, a school district called me and said, hey, we need somebody. And I called up my son. He was in the area. So what do you think about teaching business education? And he's like, yeah, I think I would really like it. So he is loving it at the school district that he is at.
Yeah, and Dr. Forrest, the reputation is so important because not only it precedes every candidate, right? And a lot of this still comes down to who do you know? Right. And it seems like, especially with school districts, that's a big way for getting positions filled comes down to connections to the university, with the reputation that our program has, with the connections that you and Dr. Jeffrey have. Oftentimes you are among the first people to know about positions before they even come up because people look to us as a pipeline to help supply, business education teachers. So this is a really important aspect when you look at the return on your investment in a master's degree in business ed. When you think of Bloomsburg, you think of Commonwealth U, oftentimes this is one of the first programs that comes to mind.
Absolutely. And we'd also have a strong tie with Future Business Leaders of America in Pennsylvania. So that's another opportunity. Our student teachers normally go out and they participate as conference assistants. And Josh and Sarah both have done that. Sarah, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience at FBLA?
Yeah, so I actually went to FBLA for the first time this year, and I was a judge. I honestly thought it was it's a huge event, first of all. And it's a really welcoming environment, and it's really easy to build connections there with people I found. When we stayed at Hershey, and honestly, it was really fun. I got to hang out with the other student teachers and talk to other people and other students and see the cool, fun ideas they're presenting. And I felt that it kind of gave me like a foot in or like some experience on teaching, because as judging and like seeing all these ideas, you get to see what kids are doing in business nowadays. And then you get to see what or ideas you can present in the classroom, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Sarah.
Mhm.
So here we have again our programs. So we have the Masters of Business Education program. So this will have 5 courses, the 3 business ed courses, and 2 instructional design technology classes. And then what's great about this program is you have 5 electives that you can choose from. So I actually have a student who's doing this now, and she actually really liked the 2 instructional design classes, graduate classes she took. And I said, let's see what we can do with this. And so she's actually going to get a certificate in instructional design. She's going to take her 5 electives in that. And then she's also going to get her master's of business education, because she's looking to retire from education and go into training and development in the corporate world. So it was a nice fit. And one of the great things about our program being small is, like, I'll be your advisor. Dr. Jeffrey will be your advisor. So, you'll have contact with us one-on-one. You're not going to kind of be left out there. And so we really work for you. She was like so appreciative, like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. And I checked it out even before I presented it to her, because I didn't want to get her hopes up. But so that's a really nice opportunity, the Master's in Business Education. So again, then we offer our certification. So student teaching is a semester-long experience where you work under the mentorship of a teacher. The good thing about going the student teaching route is that when you are done, you have a permanent certificate. So you can go and you can apply for any job, and you're not really kind of beholden to a school district. The internship program is great because you get paid. The only thing with the internship is that you are on an internship certificate. So if somebody else maybe applies for a job that actually has the teaching certificate in business, they would probably get the job over you. But again, because the demand is so high, our students are really easily going into that track. And I would probably say, about, probably 70% of our current enrollment is doing the internship track. So again, 30 credits for the Master's in Business Education, totally online. You can take 5 courses that you like. We have a great MBA program here that's online. Students love to take those courses. We have a great ed leadership program here, which sometimes students say, well, maybe I want to be a principal. So they like to take, 1 or 2 of those classes. So it's really nice if you're also looking to, branch out into a career. And we have a picture here with Gianna Harris. She graduated from our program a couple of years ago. She worked in admissions. She's great, and she comes back and still talks, right, Tom?
Yes, she does. Yeah. Yep. She was a grad assistant in our office. She did a great job. She's an outstanding business education teacher down around Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like there are grads in just about every single school. Like, you name a school, probably have a biz ed grad there.
Absolutely. And then again, our certificate program, what's a little bit different about that is that, if you do student teach, you would have to be in the Bloomsburg vicinity. So sometimes that people hold out for the internship track because they don't want to be here. I will say I have some students who say, maybe I'm not confident enough for some reason, I don't want to do the internship track. I want to work with somebody. And that's great too. I can give you, we had a non-traditional student come and he rented a room at a place in Danville and had a ball and he loved it. So I have that contact if you wanted to do something like that and, teach in a district around the Bloomsburg area for, it would be a semester only. That's 40 credit hours because you do a 9-credit student teaching and you take a class with that. Again, same coursework as intern, you're just doing the student teaching track and taking a class to prepare you during student teaching. One of the big things is how quickly can you complete it? And you can complete it pretty quickly. The only negative is with it being online is sometimes a class is maybe only offered 1 or 2 semesters because the program is a little bit smaller. However, I do have a student who started and said, I want to be done. She did the intern track and she said, I want to be done in a year and I will be hooding her this Friday. She completed all of her coursework and her internship and the mother of 2 children and did that in a year. So, we can definitely, make it work for your time frame. Some people like to go a little bit slower. So I mentioned my son, his district will pay for 4 classes a year. So to take advantage of that, he's going to take a little bit longer because he doesn't want to have to put any money out of his pocket. So that's something that you might want to think about if you're doing the intern track and you're in the interview or they offer you the job, you might want to ask about that reimbursement. Some schools I've had, they want the teacher to get that level 1 cert right away. And they're like, listen, you take as many classes as you want and we're going to pay for them. So, that's a nice opportunity with the intern too, is not only getting paid, but they're paying for your school. So that's like a double kind of whammy. And again, in Pennsylvania, just so you know, when you get our certificate, anybody who gets a business computer and information technology teaching certificate, that is actually good pre-K through 12. So we will have some people who they student teach and they went in the middle school and they really like middle school, or maybe they're interested in elementary. We have somebody who's coming up, he's going to student teach next year and he really likes elementary. So we're going to kind of, make sure he at least gets to student teach a little bit in the middle school level because they need, computer teachers at all grades. And again, I've talked about the internship that is fully online. You don't have to be to Bloomsburg to student teach. You can do it in any school in Pennsylvania, and you will get a Pennsylvania teaching certificate. It is 30 credit hours. And again, you can do it as fast as you want. You must do it in 3 years though. So once you get the intern certificate, you have 3 years to finish that coursework. So, that's the only stipulation with time. And your internship, basically, I would be supervising our Dr. Jeffrey, and we would be, I like to watch you live via Zoom, or Dr. Jeffrey sometimes likes you to video yourself. So you'd have another mentor in addition to the people at your school. You would have us that would mentor you throughout the process. I talked a little bit about career path. So there we are with some of our student teachers. We have actually one student in the front there. He actually came to Bloom and got his MBA and he went into corporate. And then we have, and I know Lakia, I hope I'm saying that right, you're in Georgia. So my friend Allie there in the orange, she is teaching in Georgia. And then we have Alicia back there and she's in the Hershey area as well. And Emily is actually in New Jersey because her fiance is there. So one of the good things, if you get a Pennsylvania teaching certificate, you can, easily transfer that into other schools. And Dr. J over there sitting by himself, smiling, is the co-coordinator of the program. So K through 12 business teacher, post-secondary. So when I graduated from the program, I actually took my first job at McCann School of Business. So some of our graduates will teach at a school of business or a community college. We also, I do want to mention online teaching. So some of you may be interested in online teaching. I was kind of talking about George earlier, and he actually teaches at a cyber school. So we have also a lot of our graduates that are teaching at online cyber schools, 3 or 4 different charter schools, cyber schools, and they really like the opportunity to work from home and to be able to teach from home. And then again, I mentioned, some of our students are doing this in hopes of getting into training and development in other areas of business and industry. So again, I've kind of been talking about the job outlook, kind of a big announcement. So if you're not familiar, Pennsylvania just recently passed a graduation requirement of personal finance. So that is really a game changer for the students in Pennsylvania. Every single student who goes to school in Pennsylvania will be required as part of graduation to have a semester-long course that's called just personal finance. And so a lot of schools don't have that on board. So we will see the demand probably increasing a little bit more. That's probably going to come out. I'm on the committee for the implementation. And so it's going to be starting in 2025. We haven't quite decided about, if you're a senior in 2025, you probably won't be required to do it, but they're kind of like working out all these bugs. Because honestly, we were actually shocked that it got approved, because if you look at Pennsylvania's graduation requirements, they're not changed a lot. They pretty much stay the same, and to get a change on them is like a miracle. I must say, Pennsylvania Business Education Association, we've been on this for about 20 years. And so we have somebody who retired, and so we're going to recognize her at PBA this year because she did a lot of work to help get this passed.
Yeah, and part of this too is there's just not a lot of business education programs out there. So there's going to be this huge demand,
Right.
probably a pretty narrow supply
Yep.
of business education teachers in the future. So this is something that you're probably going to hear a lot about moving forward.
Yep.
Grads are going to be an even higher supply.
For sure. And Insight Cyber School, that's where we have quite a few people. And Tom, we are going to have to change this because Henry Hynoski, he was our Super Bowl giant football player. He student taught, and he went to a dean of students at Shamogan High School, but he just this year, Tom, is at Southern Columbia. He's the principal now. He went
Yes.
to his home school. And we talk about Avery Roberts. He called me up in the summer and said, my wife, and she was in that last student teacher picture, loves teaching business, and I'm doing finance. I'm a financial advisor, and I don't really like it. And I said, oh, wow. So I hung up the phone. I didn't get but like 5 minutes, and an email pings by, and it was Avon Grove. One of my former alums said, we have a position. So within like a week, he had already been hired, got his intern application done, and didn't even take one class. It can happen pretty fast, like I said, with our connections. And our application is fairly easy. It's online. What are you required to have to apply? Official transcripts from your undergraduate work. A resume, so an updated resume with what you're doing, 2 letters of recommendation, and a personal narrative, basically looking to find out why you want to student teach. And again, this is a real personalized program. So, we always like to talk to our applicants and kind of get a feel and see where they want to go with this, and look at their background and everything. And no testing requirements for us. So that's really nice as well. When I applied, there was testing requirements, but we look at what your transcripts, and we typically get quality students, high quality students in our program. So it's really nice. I would say our students do very well. They take it serious. There's a lot of camaraderie, but there's a lot of, focus on, learning and academia.
And Dr. Forrest, when you are reviewing applications for admission, what are some of the things you're looking for in a qualified applicant?
So we're looking for somebody that has a degree in business. So we really, you're getting certified to teach all different courses. So we're looking that you've had a course in introduction to business, management, marketing, finance, and accounting. So those are kind of like the 5 key areas. Most people who graduate with a degree in business have that. I will say we've had students though come to us from communications. And so communications a lot of time have some business courses, so we can work with that. One of the nice things is, if you have some prereqs to do, you could do them, even at a community college. So, if you had the student who had a communications degree, she had to take accounting classes. So she could take those accounting classes anywhere she wanted. So we really try to work with the students as well. And then possibly if you haven't had introduction to business, but you've been in the business world for, several years, we look at your resume, then we could also waive that requirement as well. So it's kind of really an individualized program. So I think that is it. So I'm going to stop sharing, but I'm going to just I'm going to let Josh and Sarah, just if you want to talk for like 30 to 60 seconds and talk about maybe what you like about the program and any advice you would have to a future business educator.
Sarah, can you start us?
Yeah, definitely. So what I really like about the program, like Dr. Force said, is how personalized and individualized it is. So for example, I'm finishing mine in about, I want to say, a 1.5 year track I'm doing, but I wanted to get a head start before this spring semester. So I actually started taking one class in the winter, and they were very easy with that, very accommodating, and allowed me to do that. And also everyone's very supporting within the department. Like I said, everyone sends me any opportunities they see. They're even like other fellow student teachers and stuff, they're quick to like tell you what they heard and really emphasize building connections with people, and are very like open and willing to work with you. So that's what I like most about it. And then what else? I'm sorry, what else did you say? Oh,
Any advice?
yeah. My advice would honestly just be open and involved with everything. I really enjoyed getting involved with the Husky Dog Pound, going to FBLA, going to PBEA events, because I can see beyond after I graduate things that I can do and get involved and stay within business education. So yeah, my advice would be to get as involved as you can, and that also helps build connections as well.
Josh?
Yeah, so I think one of my top things there, because I did the no cert track, so that I had 5 electives on my board for my master's. So I was actually able to take some different business courses. I obviously had my undergrad in a business, but I took more like MBA courses. Got it out with a certification in management, so like a half MBA. But I think one of the biggest things is still so much flexibility, and then like the professors you have, not just Dr. Forrest, Dr. Jeffrey, the professors you have outside of the business ed spectrum, whether it's the instructional design courses you have to take. Like Dr. Humble's a really great professor. Every professor I've had has been exceptional from that standpoint. I can't say I ever had a bad experience with any professor, whether it's undergrad or graduate school here at Bloomsburg. So then any advice I'd give, I would say, keep that open mind. A lot of different opportunities out there, obviously, with different job openings always happening. You can always have a very competitive industry with the degree like this, no matter what you want to do.
And thanks, Josh, because Josh did mention a little bit, we do have in the program to teach in Pennsylvania. You are required to have 3 special education courses and a course called English Language Learner. So those are our 4 courses in the intern and the student teaching track that are required to get a teaching certificate.
And I know, so earlier we had talked about GAs or grad assistantship, and so that's essentially a part-time position working at the university. It's typically between 5 and 20 hours a week, depending on what the GA expectation is. And then in return, the university would pay for some of your tuition and fees, and then also you get a stipend, so you get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I know Sarah and Josh are both grad assistants. Would you guys be able to talk about your GA experience and how you're able to balance being a GA, being a student, and any other activities that you may have going on? Josh.
So I am a graduate assistant in the admissions office, ironically enough. So have a big part there. I work 20 hours a week. Do a lot with presentations, helping with grad enrollment there. From the part that I do at the admissions office, being a public speaker and being like a teacher, things like that really helps grow that from that perspective as well. Some things I do outside of the admissions office would be I coach football here as well. And so kind of teaching a different way from that perspective as well. And then balancing the classwork with it. One thing it is, being online, aside from about maybe like 2 or 3 classes, a lot of it's asynchronous. So you're not having any Zoom meetings. And then those 2 or 3 you are having Zoom meetings for, you can obviously make the time for that. But being asynchronous is very adaptable because you're not having like, okay, I need to make this time for it and put this online. So you're like, I need to be there. So you can kind of work at your own pace, things like that. And just make sure you don't fall behind from that perspective. Don't wait till the last day to do your homework, right?
And one thing I want to say is our summer classes are asynchronous. So for those of you who have vacations and stuff planned, we've had people get married, go on honeymoons, all those types of things. And that's definitely doable. But Sarah, I want to hear from Sarah because her GA is like her supervisor is really tough.
Yeah, so I consider my GA to be great. I'm a GA for Dr. Force in the Technology Analytics and Workforce Learning Department. What I enjoy most about it, I think that honestly the work that she has me do relates with what I'm doing, obviously. And so I really didn't find it that hard to have like a balance between the two because I felt like they related so much. A big thing for the spring is obviously the Husky Dog Pound. So that is the majority of the time that I spent doing that in the spring. But that also shows you like Dr. Force has so many connections with people, and you also get so involved with middle school and high school around the area, and that you get to meet teachers that you could potentially be student teaching for within that. And that's all part of my GA work. And then also you get to see what it's like to really take part in like grading students in classes and stuff. And that just gives you like the hands-on opportunities. I only did quarter time, so I do 10 hours a week. So I really didn't have any trouble balancing my work with my GA. Honestly, yeah, I would just say make sure you stay on top of everything. But obviously, mostly all my classes, even though I did take some in person, most of the work and stuff was online, or my other classes were asynchronous. So it's not a difficult balance at all.
And I just want to mention the Husky Dog Pound, what that is. So at Commonwealth University, the Ziegler College of Business sponsors it's basically a Shark Tank competition. And we have 2 divisions, one for undergraduate and graduate students. Josh participated this year. And if you're a student at the university level, you compete and do like a 20 to 30 minute pitch of your idea. And we give away $10,000 in cash. And the top 5 at the university move forward and win money. And that's a little bit more kind of hands-on, working a little bit with me. We have some meetings and such, but we also give away $10,000 to middle school, high school students. And this year we had 70 school districts. We had 200 teams and about 700 people come from across the state of Pennsylvania. And the students do a 3-minute pitch, and there's a 5-minute question and answer period. And we give the 30 top 10 students cash prizes. The first prize is $1,000. And also the advisors, we reward the teachers for preparing them to come to this competition. So that's our Husky Dog Pound.
Josh and Sarah, can you talk a little bit about the difference between undergrad courses and graduate courses? You both have undergrad degrees in business. What were some of the differences switching gears from the undergraduate expectation to graduate level expectation?
Okay. So I think the biggest difference from undergrad to grad, obviously you're in person for a lot of your undergrad. Is probably about 90% of your undergrad I was in person for, even with COVID. And then go switching over to grad, everything be online. You have to adapt to how to learn on your own pretty much, because for the most part, you are teaching yourself. So that's probably the biggest difference I thought, going from graduate to or undergrad to graduate.
I would say the biggest difference between undergrad classes and grad classes is that your grad classes are more specialized to obviously what you're doing. Like in your undergrad, you got to take gen eds and all that, where obviously graduate level you don't. And even though in undergrad you have you're taking your classes that are for your major, I just feel at the graduate level it's more specialized to what you're doing, and all based around education, so that it's more catered towards what you want, instead of whereas I had international business, it was more broad of a spectrum, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Scope gets a little bit more narrow. Yeah. What are your favorite classes? Out of curiosity. Obviously, the courses that Dr. Force teaches is the most obvious answer, but what were the classes that stuck out to you the most?
I actually didn't have Dr. Force as a professor yet for my
Oh.
graduate. So right now, besides I had business research, that was all asynchronous. I took that during the winter, but right now I've this semester I actually took my spec ed classes. But what I really enjoyed the classmates I met through that, because even though I was actually the only business education student in that class. But even though they're not business education, you get to hear like their side and what they're going for, if it's middle level, elementary, high school, whatever they're going for. And you get to see like their take on education. And I just really liked hearing everyone's perspectives of why they're going for education. So I enjoyed those classes too.
Josh, what about you?
Probably my favorite class in my graduate program would have been supply chain management with Dr. Granzel. Just because I learned a lot of different things about the real world business. That was about 2 years ago, when everything was just kicking up from COVID, when all the supply chain, when the cars were not being filled in the car lots and things like that, looking at different articles, stuff like that. And then I really enjoyed my instructional design courses, because I kind of learned a lot more about how to make like better products for your students for the most part, utilizing different tools, things like that. So I use things I never heard of before, and that kind of grew my knowledge from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's great. Dr. Force, and one of the things we never talked about is, what is your area of research? Is there any class that you enjoy teaching the most? Is the one that like comes up on your syllabus, like, I can't wait to get into that one this semester?
I mean, I love teaching, the first class, the 501 class, the graduate class, because I love, teaching students how to teach business education, how important it is, lesson plans, a lot of things where we share ideas. I love personally at the undergraduate level teaching introduction to business to freshmen to kind of get them excited about business. And again, always excited about personal finance, because I think it's something that everybody needs to know. So I like that as well. And my research, I do a lot of research that I present at the National Business Education Association. They have a business education research conference. Also, it's great to be active in them. In 2023, I was the National Business Education Collegiate Teacher of the Year, and I won that award through National Business Education Association. So, yeah.
So I know I had one question for you, Dr. Force, just to follow up. We may have some people who are either watching live or watching the recording who are currently teaching full-time or working full-time jobs. How does completing this degree while working full-time work? I'm assuming it's doable, but what might a normal week look like?
It's absolutely doable, so typically our students take, if they're working full-time, 1 to 2 classes while working full-time. I know, Sarah and Josh, to be GAs, just everybody knows a GA, you have to have at least 9 credits a semester. So the school pays for 6, you would pay for 3 on your own. So that is a requirement of being a GA. So they take a little bit more, but again, they're not working full time, but they do have obligations. Sarah did have a part-time job for a little bit, and then Josh was coaching the university football team. So, you know, that kept him quite busy as well. But like I said, the student who's graduating in the spring, she worked full time as a first-year teacher, 2 kids, and got through all of the coursework in a year.
Again, the classes are, you know, largely asynchronous. So, Sarah and Josh, how much time are you dedicating to a class per week, both in terms of any type of instruction and any associated homework or projects? Like, typically, how many hours a week are you spending doing school week? Now, keeping in mind for anyone who's watching, Josh and Sarah both full-time grad students. Josh.
So for me, when I was in season, I had to spend a lot more time from like 9 p.m. to 11 doing work. That's almost like 4 or 5 days a week from that standpoint. But for the most part, over a course of a week, if I'm taking one class, I'd probably say 3 or 4 hours from that standpoint, depending on what the class is and the knowledge base that is. Like I said, I took more MBA courses, and with an undergrad in business, I had a lot more fonder understanding of what the coursework was going to be like. So if you're coming from more like a strict business and you're taking a special education class, that might be a bit more of a challenge. I did take some more of the special ed classes. So like even when I took biz ed 501 and 581, I think the courses, like I knew a lot of things going on in that course, so I didn't need to take as much time for it. But if you are coming from the corporate world, I'll say, into a teaching world, you might need to spend, you know, maybe more 5 or 6 hours a week just to learn the content.
Sarah.
Yeah, I agree with Josh. It honestly depends, and it's honestly preference based, because for my ELL class that I'm taking, that was completely asynchronous, and the professor had first 6 modules due halfway through the semester, last 6 modules due by the end of the semester. So that was completely at your own pace, however you want. So instead of weekly, I kind of worked on that in chunks. I also started off with spec ed classes instead of business ed classes the way I'm going. So that was new to me. So I took more time out for those classes rather than my business research class, because I already took research classes in my undergrad. I already took those basic business classes. That class was easier for me. So I would say it's more, some classes are more work at your own pace, but a couple hours a week, and then obviously during finals and stuff that picks up a bit more, but most classes you could work at your own pace.
And again, in graduate work, you know, a lot of the classes are project-based as well. You know, like in my 501 class, there's no final exam. It is a final paper and a presentation. So, you know, a little bit different, some courses are less studying and more application.
Absolutely. So, I see we've gotten through the presentation. You know, we've talked with Sarah and Josh and Dr. Force. So before we sign off here, any final suggestions, any final advice, Dr. Force or Josh or Sarah, for anyone who may be looking at the program? Any last minute guidance?
Anybody have any questions? You know, my door's always open. You can email me, and if you're a person who'd rather talk on the phone, email me and we can set up a mutually agreement time. Our semester is ending this week, so I'm pretty available to discuss on the phone, or if you want to do it via Zoom, if you have any other questions that we didn't address.
Josh or Sarah?
Encouraged to apply now.
There you go.
Apply now, there's a need.
Yeah, on it. Yeah, the you know, the need.
Apply now, because you're supposed to have 3 call to actions, right? We all know that as business people. Apply now.
That's right. And by the way, anyone who is in attendance or who is watching live, the application fee will be waived then. So when you get to the end of the application, all you have to do is say yes, that you know, I participated in one of the virtual events, and then we'll sync that up with our software, so that way we can get that waived for you. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Dr. Force or I. We work for you, and we're happy to do so. And we look forward to hearing from everybody in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.